Hey everybody, thank you for clicking on this video. Today I'm going to be reviewing Spiral from the Book of Saw, and as a hardcore Saw fan, I have some thoughts. So we'll start in the easiest place. It's the direction. Darren Lynn Bousman is back, and so are the quick edits that you either love or hate. Personally, I'm a fan of the music video stylization and welcome the return of the frenetic, fast-paced energy during the trap scenes. His return was welcome. His stamp was all over the place. As far as the acting, Chris Rock as Zeke, he may come across as overacting to some. I bought his portrayal of someone who's tired of taking shit from people who are inherently shit. His history had turned the department against him to the point that when he calls for backup after everything had happened, everyone in the department ignored it, and he got shot in the back as a result. He and his partner actually take the lead on the case that killed the first victim, and his fellow detectives then do their own sleuthing behind his back and withhold information from him in a situation that ultimately leads to one of their deaths. Max Minghella is Zeke's rookie partner Shank. He flew about where the filmmakers wanted him to on the radar. He's unassuming, very much the rookie, just in terms of he's not polished or as serious as everyone else, and he moves the story along where he needs to. Samuel L. as Chief Banks had a good father-son banter with Chris Rock, but his character as a whole wasn't fleshed out enough for me. He pulled the strings behind the scenes as far as Dirty Cops went, but more direct involvement with him and the killer would have kind of had more of a punch where the motive's involved. Marisol Nichols as Captain Angie was your typical female in charge of a bunch of men, but I felt like her character could have also been fleshed out more to see why she deserved the fate she got. Kudos to the acting of the people in the traps as well. They sell the shit out of the idea that they're being put through what they are, and what they're being put through is vicious. Like, you'll love it. As far as the story, the concept is a solid idea. Copycat killer with a grudge against dirty cops, but it's not necessarily a new idea or one that was expounded on enough for me to buy 100% of what they were selling. They've been targeting cops since Saw 2, so it wasn't the newest territory to tread, but I did like the execution for the most part. I get the reform the police sentiment, but there wasn't any indication that the surviving cops in the Saw universe were reformed or felt like changing their moral codes after everything had happened. We don't see what happens after the last trap. You see the trap, and probably about 2 minutes later, the movie's over. So you don't get to see how people took these actions from the killer or how it motivated them to be any different in their own lives. Also, the ending is just abrupt. So much so to the point that I wasn't sure it was over until the credits started rolling. The killer also didn't display a sense of following John to the letter. The traps in this movie didn't seem like you would survive very long, even if you had made it out. Missing tongue, fingers ripped off, glass shards like randomly shot into somebody. Like, you can't plan for what the injury on that was going to be, but they more than likely weren't going to make it even if they had gotten out sooner. Like, if there wasn't a hospital in the next room, these people would have been fucked anyway. But let's talk about the traps. The lying tongue trap. That's the very first scene. It's well executed, pun absolutely intended, and a great reintroduction for the series to come back with. The guy is killed for lying on the witness stand and having a lying tongue. The second trap, it's introduced and then it cuts away. The guy's in a tub that's filling up with water and he has to bite down on the mask that he's wearing so that the machine can pull the fingers that he used to point blame at others off, or risk being electrocuted by the water that's rising before it hits a live wire. The skinned pig trap, I'd have to watch the movie again to get exactly what the point of that one was or why the person was in it, like what their crime was, but it is bloody. We only see the gruesome aftermath intercut with someone being skinned by another person. It's not by a trap, and that raised red flags as soon as it came on screen for me. Next one I'm calling the Head of Injustice trap. This was the only trap that wasn't teased in any promotional material that I could see, other than some black stuff that was on Chris Rock's clothes that there was no explanation for. And there wasn't really much to tease because it's over pretty quickly. Boiling wax and a razor to the spinal cord are involved, but don't expect anything over the top when it comes to this one. Next one is the glass blaster, and y'all, holy shit. This was like the coolest idea for a trap to me. The dude's chained standing up in a glass recycling plant and bottles are being ground up and shot into this guy. Like, again, I'd have to see the movie again to get a clear idea on why this was the circumstances that he was put in. But holy shit, like, it was my favorite trap in the movie apart from the first one. Last one is the pulling the strings trap is what I'm calling it. Samuel L. strung up like a marionette doll, and it seems to be a full circle tribute to his past. It's why the new Billy the Puppet I'm calling him Willie the puppet. It's why it's a marionette, is he was pulling the strings behind the scenes. And that was him, that was Samuel L. back in the day. Samuel L. was pulling the strings back in the day behind the scenes, and now he's got literal strings making him do what they want. Didn't have the impact that I thought it would on its own, but when the trap actually gets going, it made it a situation that was a punch to the gut for at least one character. And speaking of the ending, when it comes to the twist, there isn't really much of one. Killer's revealed in a wide shot from far away as Chris Rock exits one of the trap rooms, and he goes into the next room, and he's just standing there. The killer's just sitting there waiting for him, like, so I mean, your dad's just been bleeding out for like hours, but they're just standing there waiting for him. And this would be the point where Hello Zepp comes on, and there's quick cut reveal of this is what happened here, and this is what led to this, and they were inspired by Jigsaw in this way. But you don't ever get that, because Chris Rock walks into the room and they're just right there, and that's really it. There is no build up, no tension, no music, no nothing. Like, he walks into the room, and I was like, so is this the reveal? This is it? Okay. You don't expect the killer to be there, and it just, yeah. Another thing about the killer is that their motive was believable enough, but there wasn't anything given to the audience that says why they chose to emulate John or to do traps or how they knew about it. Anything that says that they would take up John's mantle, there was nothing there that like connected this killer to John. There was a couple photos of John, maybe some other connections to the other movies that I might have missed, but not much outside of that. The more connective tissue to John and his code and just why he did what he did, it would have made the whole thing a lot easier for me to swallow, like having the killer know Daniel or one of the other kids from the OG series from back in the day, or even a scene of the younger killers seeing something on John on TV, you know, like when the inciting incident had happened, TV's on in the background. Jigsaw killer makes people get justice, or gets justice for people who were fucked over by whoever. Like having the killer show Daniel, or like having the killer know Daniel or one of the other kids from the Saw series from back in the day who would, you know, theoretically, if time passed the same, they would be adults here. Anything that would have connected it, I would have been open for, but nothing that I could speak of. The twist, more than anything, appears to be Chris Rock finding out just how much his father had a hand in how corrupt his department was back in the day. It didn't come across with any flair or build-up that it could have had. The ending was very underwhelming. It was not only a reveal that just didn't have any punch to it, but it was also an ending that it happens and you're looking at the screen, it's like, okay, but where do they take it from here? Because of one is dead, the other is alive and knows who the killer is and all these secrets and stuff like that, and the killer just tries to go away like, shh, don't tell anybody. No, fucker, like, you just killed somebody, a lot of people actually. Like, it didn't make math to me as far as a storytelling perspective. And when I walked out of the movie, I had questions about the killer, how they got inspired by Jigsaw, what their end game was, stuff like that. There was too much that wasn't made clear for me to fully get behind the new killer, or who they are, how they intended to get away with everything that was going on, or what their goal was past revenge on people who had already been killed by that point. Just a little bit more polished, maybe having a rabid fan proofreading the script or helping in editing, so that the creators know that it's airtight and, you know, fans will be pleased with how it turns out. It would have been a solid 10 for me. As it stands, I gotta give Spiral 7 out of 10 disembodied tongues. And that about does it for my Spiral review, you guys. I try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible. Like, please don't spoil the killer in the comments. Let me know your thoughts or comments on Twitter about the movie, how you would have changed anything, or if you guys think there will be another sequel. Thank you for clicking on this video. Have a good rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time.